Hello, welcome to lesson 4 in Unit 2, Proportional Relationships and Equations. I want you to pause the video and take 5 minutes to answer the warm-up questions, and we'll come back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. So we have 645 divided by 100. So remember, anytime we're dividing by 100, we can just move our decimal place over 2 values. So we'll end up with an answer of 6.45 or 6 45 hundredths. Now our next one wants us to divide 645 by 50. So that's half as much as this. So we can actually just double this to find our answer here, and that would be 12.9. Our next one, 48.6 divided by 30. You can think about dividing each of this by 3 to get an answer of 1.62. And then number 4, we have 48.6 divided by x. So you're going to pick a value for x. You could do this by cutting this in half like we did up here. So we could divide it by 15, which means we would just have to double this, and we would get a new answer of 3.24. All right, so let's move on now down to activity 4.2, feeding a crowd. So number 1 says a recipe that says that 2 cups of dry rice will serve 6 people. Complete the table as you answer the questions. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. So letter A, how many people will 1 cup of rice serve? So if 2 cups of rice will serve 6 people, we can divide this in half because 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 would be 3. So it will serve, 1 cup of rice will serve 3 people. Okay, how many people will 3 cups of rice serve? 12 cups and 43 cups. So as we go up, we're going to multiply by 3 because each cup can feed 3 people. So 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 would be 9. 12 times 3 would be 36. 36. 43 times 3 would give us 129. And so we're going to leave that there because this answers that. And letter C, how many people will X cups of rice serve? Well, we know each cup of rice is going to serve 3 people. So if it's X, it's going to be 3 times X. It'll serve 3 times as many people as there is cups of rice. All right, turn the page to page 102. And we're going to go to the top of page 102. A recipe says that 6 spring rolls will serve 3 people. Complete the table as you answer the questions. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. So letter A, how many people will 1 spring roll serve? Well, if 6 spring rolls serve 3 people, we can divide those both by 3, so that would give us 2, that would give us 1. So then if we divide it again, we would get half a person. So we would be able to feed half a person. So if we had another box here for 2, it would be 2, 2, 1. So 2 spring rolls feed 1 person. All right. How many people will 10 spring rolls serve? 16 spring rolls, 25 spring rolls. So we're going to fill in these next 3 parts. I want you to pause the video and take a moment to see if you can answer those on your own. Welcome back. All right, so if we know it takes 2 spring rolls to feed 1 person, we can divide 10 by 2 or multiply 10 by 1/2. So half of 10 is 5. Let's look at 16. 16 times 1/2 is going to give us 8. And 25 is a little tricky because it's not exactly an even number. But if we do 25 times 1/2 or divided by 1/2, we will end up with 12.5 people. So we'll be able to feed 12.5 people. Letter C. How many people would N spring rolls serve? So N spring rolls will serve, what are we multiplying by? Yeah, so it would be half of N. How is completing this table different from the previous table? How is it the same? Pause the video for a moment and answer this question. Welcome back. So this is a very opinionated question. This is based on what you think was different and what was the same. So something that you could have said is it was different because instead of multiplying up, we had to multiply down from a number less than 1 in order to get our new answer, because on the other side we had to multiply up to find our answer. You could say it was the same because the second column depended on the first column. And there are a lot more answers that we could say for this, but those two are kind of the most important ones to notice. All right, let's go down to activity 4.3, Denver to Chicago. A plane flew at a constant speed between Denver and Chicago. It took the plane 1.5 hours to fly 915 miles. So number 1 wants us to complete the table. We might need a little bit more space for this, so you might want to grab a separate piece of paper so that way we can figure this out. So Miss Bailey's going to grab herself a sticky note to do some math on. So we know that 1.5 hours takes 915, or goes 915 miles. So we've got to figure out, well, how far can we go in 1 hour? So we're going to have to divide this by 1.5. So let's set up our division. On the inside, we're going to have 915. And on the outside, we're going to have 1.5. So remember, we can't keep our decimal place here. So we have to move it over 1. And now we have 15. But when we do that, we have to add a 0 over here. So 15 goes into 91 how many times? Yeah, it goes in 6 times. So we subtract, we have a 1, bring down our 5. 15 goes into 15 how many times? That's right, it can only go in once. And then we're stuck with some zeros. So what this means is we're going to have to add a 0 to the end. So our distance is going to be 610 miles. So we're going to fill in here 610. And it's that because if 1.5 hours takes 915 miles, we're figuring out what it would be for the constant. So each hour is going to add 610 miles. So now we've got to figure out what's the speed per hour. Well, every hour we're consistently going at 610. So we can actually fill in this entire side with 610. All right, now we've got to figure out for 2. So we know our speed is going to stay the same, so our distance is going to stay the same. So 2 times 610. So we're going to do 610 times 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 6 is 12. So we're going to end up with 1,220 miles. Now we need to do the same thing for 2.5. So we're going to do 610 times 2.5. So 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 6 is 30. We're going to put our placeholder here. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 6 is 12. Now we've got to add this up. Bring down our decimal place. We have 1,525. So 1,525 miles. Okay, so then T wants to know, how many miles do we go? So this one's kind of look like an equation. Similar to how we had it look up over here, we had to create an equation to figure out how far we travel per hour. So in this case, it's going to be the 610 times however time is elapsed. So it's going to be 610 T. All right, so over here, we've just got a couple of questions to answer. How far does the plane fly in 1 hour? It flies 610 miles. How far would the plane fly in T hours at this speed? So 610 T would be our answer. Question D, if D represented the distance that the plane flies at this speed for T hours, write an equation that relates T and D. So in this case, D is distance, and we just want to figure out the distance is going to equal what? So we can use this equation we have right here and just put our D in front of it. So D equals 610 times, because this is what we're using to figure out all of these other pieces. So this would be 1 times 610, 1.5 times 610, 2 times 610, 2.5 times 610, to give us that consistency over here for how far it's traveling. How far would the plane fly in 3 hours at this speed and 3.5 hours at this speed? So here we can just do our multiplication. So we know 610 times 3 is how we're going to find the first one, and 610 times 3.5 is how we're going to find the second one. All right, so 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 6 is 18. So it would travel 1,830 miles in 3 hours. Now we can go find our 3.5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 6 is 30. We got to put our placeholder. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is going to give us 18. We're going to add those together. We have 0, 5, 3, 11. Nope. Yeah, 11. Bring down that decimal place. Remember to bring that down. So it would be 2,135 miles. So 3 hours is equal to 1,830 miles. And 3.5 hours is equal to 2,135 miles. All right, let's continue on over to page 103 and our last problem for today, which is revisiting bread dough. So a bakery uses 8 tablespoons of honey for every 10 cups of flour to make bread dough. Some days they bake bigger batches, and some days they bake smaller batches, but they always use the same ratio of honey to flour. So the first thing we want to do, it says to complete the table. All right, well, let's figure out. So 8 tablespoons of honey is going to give us 10 cups of flour. So we've got to figure out these are both divisible by 2. So if we divide 8 by 2, we end up with 4. If we divide 10 by 2, we have 5. So we have 4 to 5. Now we've got to figure out how many cups of flour do I need for 1 tablespoon? Well, in this case, we're going to have to divide our flour by our honey. So it would be 5/4, or 5 divided by 4. You could also write this as 1 1/4 cups. All right, so now we can multiply to find how many cups of flour we need for 16 tablespoons. So we're going to do our 16, and we're going to multiply it by 5/4. So 16 times 5/4. Remember, anytime you're doing a whole number times a fraction, you're going to put that whole number over 1 and multiply across. So 16 times 5, let's see, we know 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times 6 is 30. So we're going to have 30 plus 50, which is going to give us 80. 1 times 4 is 4. So now what we're going to have to do is divide 80 by 4. And we know 4 goes into 80 20 times. So we would need 20 cups of flour. Hey, what if we have 20 tablespoons of honey? Go ahead and try this one on your own. All right, welcome back. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. 20 times 5/4. We're going to put this, because it's a whole number, over 1 and multiply across. So 20 times 5 is going to give us 100 over 1 times 4. So we end up with 100 over 4. 4 goes into 125 times. So we will need 25 cups of flour. And now we've got to figure out H for honey is how many cups of flour? Well, what are we multiplying by each time? That's right, 5/4. So just like before, it's going to be 5/4 times what? 5/4 a cup of flour per tablespoon of honey. So it's going to be 5/4 H. All right, that is the end of lesson 4, unit 2. You're going to complete homework pages 105 and 106, as well as the cool down. I will see you next time for the next lesson.